Wars have shaped almost every corner of the globe, and humans have fought over land, wealth, pride, resources, and reasons that often seem completely absurd today. Sometimes conflicts escalated into full-blown battles where people risked life and limb over disputes that, if you stop to think about it, could have been solved in a million easier ways. But one thing is clear: when humans want something badly, there is no limit to what they will do to get it. And history is packed with examples of extreme, mind-blowing strategies. The actual fighting is only part of the story. Often, the real advantage comes from clever tricks, bizarre tactics, or plans that look absolutely insane at first glance. There's a fine line between a military genius and a total nutcase, and some historical leaders tiptoed right along it, sometimes creating strategies that are savage, brilliant, or both at the same time. Today, we're diving into 5 historical war tactics that sound impossible, yet actually worked. You'll be amazed, and some of these stories will make you question reality. Before we jump in, I'm Marcus, and I'm here to take you through insane moments in history that feel like movie plots, but were 100% real. First up, the Vikings. Back in the year 860, Hastin, a seasoned Viking chieftain, set his sights on the Mediterranean, looking for treasure, fame, and cities ripe for plundering. Hastin wasn't alone. He teamed up with Bjorn Ironside, another fierce warrior. Together, they led over 60 longships full of seasoned fighters, sailing down rivers and along coasts, attacking wherever opportunity appeared. Their early raids weren't flawless. They faced setbacks in France, Spain, and North Africa, learning the hard way that pillaging has a steep learning curve. But soon, they found their rhythm and began striking fear wherever they went. Eventually, their eyes fell on what they believed was the ultimate prize: Rome. The legendary city, overflowing with wealth and devout citizens, seemed like the perfect target to immortalize their names in history. Hastin knew that a direct assault would be extremely risky. The walls were strong, the defenders alert, and a frontal attack could easily end in disaster. So he devised a plan that was audacious, bold, and downright ruthless. He ordered his men to carry him on a stretcher toward the city gates, acting like he was mortally wounded. Some accounts even say he pretended to be completely dead. His story? He wanted to convert to Christianity before dying. The guards, being devout Christians, were persuaded to allow him entry. After all, who could deny salvation to a dying man seeking forgiveness? The scene is almost cinematic. A bloody Viking lying still, supposedly at the brink of death, approaching the gates of a city that trusted him. Once inside, Hastin sprang from the stretcher, attacking guards and civilians alike. His hidden warriors rushed in, creating chaos and slaughtering anyone in their path. The tactic was shockingly effective, using deception and faith as weapons. The twist? The city they captured wasn't Rome, it was Luna, located about 270 miles north. Even so, the strategy worked perfectly, and Hastin gained control, proving that bold, unexpected thinking can completely flip the odds. Next, we head to ancient Egypt, where the most unusual weapons were tiny, fluffy, and terrifyingly effective in the right context. I'm talking about cats. The Egyptians treated cats as sacred, believing they were vessels for deities like Bastet. Killing or harming a cat was punishable, making the feline a surprisingly powerful tool in warfare. In 525 BCE, Persian king Cambyses set out to conquer Egypt, moving against the city of Pelusium. His army was strong, but the Egyptians were holding their ground, ready to defend the city at all costs. Instead of relying purely on brute force, Cambyses understood culture, religion, and fear. He placed images of Bastet on shields and brought actual cats onto the battlefield. The Egyptians hesitated. No soldier wanted to harm a sacred animal, and any mistake could invoke the wrath of their gods. This single psychological tactic caused confusion, hesitation, and ultimately allowed the Persians to advance without a traditional fight. This story proves that warfare isn't just about swords, arrows, or elephants. It can also be about understanding human behavior and leveraging belief systems in clever ways. Moving forward in time, let's sail to the Mediterranean during the First Punic War. Rome had a mighty army on land but was inexperienced at sea, facing Carthage's formidable navy. To compensate, the Romans invented the corvus, a massive wooden bridge with a spike on the underside. The goal? Turn naval combat into land combat, where Roman soldiers were experts. Ships would sail close to enemies, drop the corvus to lock onto their decks, and soldiers would charge across, turning the sea battle into hand-to-hand combat. It was ingenious, terrifying, and brutally effective. Sure, it had drawbacks. The corvus made Roman ships less stable and clunky, but it gave them a massive edge in the early years of the war. Battles that seemed impossible became victories, proving creativity can overcome experience gaps. Next, we revisit Rome, but now under Julius Caesar, a man whose mind was as sharp as his sword. His target? The fortified settlement of Alesia during the Gallic Wars. A direct assault was suicidal. Caesar chose starvation and strategy instead, constructing a siege around the city to cut off supplies. But here's the twist. Reinforcements were on the way. To counter this, Caesar built a second wall outside the first, facing outward. Now, the city's defenders were trapped inside, and any approaching forces faced two massive Roman fortifications. This double siege created a deadly sandwich effect, with the defenders starving inside and reinforcements blocked outside. The psychological and tactical genius here is insane. The Gauls were forced to surrender without breaking Caesar's lines. Finally, we travel to Central Asia and meet Tamarlain, also called Timur, one of the most feared conquerors in history. His ingenuity in battle was matched only by his brutality. During the Battle of Delhi in 1398, Tamarlain faced an army with over 100 armored war elephants, each a walking weapon. His soldiers, riding camels, faced seemingly impossible odds. But Tamarlain turned fear into a weapon. He loaded camels with hay and wood, set them on fire, and drove them toward the elephants. The panicked elephants ran through their own lines, trampling soldiers and creating chaos. Tamerlain's men charged amidst the confusion, securing an overwhelming victory. These 5 stories, Vikings, Persian cats, the Roman corvus, Caesar's double siege, and flaming camels show how creativity, deception, and psychology often matter more than brute force in war. Now that we've seen the wildest, most audacious war tactics, it's crazy to think how far leaders went to win. Boldness, brains, and pure nerve often mattered more than the size of an army or the sharpness of a sword. Take a moment to picture Hastin on that stretcher, lying seemingly dead, surrounded by guards who had no idea the horror was about to hit them. It's almost cinematic, right? He used deception in a way that no one expected, and it worked flawlessly. Meanwhile, across the world, the Egyptians were facing one of history's strangest psychological battles. Cambyses didn't swing swords, fire arrows, or lead a cavalry charge right away. Instead, he relied on something almost everyone would underestimate: cats. Yes, actual cats. The sacred animals Egyptians worshipped through Bastet. Soldiers who otherwise would have fought fiercely froze in place, unwilling to risk harming a holy animal. The Persians advanced almost effortlessly, turning what could have been a bloody siege into a nearly passive victory. It's wild to imagine the battlefield, chaos all around, yet soldiers hesitating because of a tiny creature they considered divine. And honestly, even today, a cat stare is enough to freeze most people in place. Now imagine hundreds of them on a battlefield, plus the fear of divine punishment. Meanwhile, the Romans were solving problems with sheer ingenuity. Facing Carthage, they didn't have experience at sea. But instead of panicking, they invented the corvus, a massive boarding bridge that turned naval warfare into something the Romans excelled at: hand-to-hand combat. The spike attached to the bridge allowed Roman soldiers to charge onto enemy ships like it was solid land. Carthaginian sailors, used to sea battles of skill and maneuvering, were suddenly facing disciplined Roman infantry. This tactic was equal parts clever and brutal, and it secured early victories that shaped the Punic Wars. Of course, the corvus wasn't perfect. Ships became less stable, storms could wreck fleets, and deploying a massive wooden bridge onto a moving ship required insane precision. Still, it shows that even a clunky, unconventional tool can be a game-changer when used creatively. Fast forward to Gaul, and you meet Julius Caesar, whose mind for strategy was almost as legendary as his reputation for ruthlessness. At Alesia, he faced a fortified city and a massive army on the way to reinforce it. Charging blindly would have been suicidal. Instead, Caesar used a double siege. First, he built a wall around the city to starve the defenders. Then, he added a second wall facing outward, preventing reinforcements from reaching the city. It's the kind of audacity most generals would never even consider. The result? The defenders inside starved, the reinforcements outside couldn't break through, and Caesar captured the city without suffering catastrophic losses. It's a story that shows patience, clever planning, and the power of thinking multiple steps ahead. And then there's Tamerlain, whose genius was matched only by his cruelty. Facing the Indian army with elephants armored and armed to the teeth, His soldiers were terrified, knowing a stampede could end their lives instantly. Tamarlain didn't retreat. He turned the battlefield itself into a weapon by loading camels with hay and wood, setting them on fire and directing them toward the enemy elephants. The result was pure chaos. Elephants panicked, trampled their own troops, and allowed Tamarlain's army to charge through almost effortlessly. It's hard to imagine anything more terrifying than a wall of fire and screaming camels running toward you while giant armored elephants lose their minds. And yet, this tactic worked brilliantly, proving that psychological warfare can be as deadly as physical combat. Now, stepping back, there's a pattern in all 5 stories. Hastings relied on deception and exploiting trust. Cambyses leveraged culture and religion. Romans adapted technology to overcome weaknesses. Caesar used planning, patience, and precision. Tamerlane created chaos and exploited fear. All of these victories weren't just about numbers, weapons, or brute strength. They were about thinking differently, spotting weaknesses, and taking bold, calculated risks. Even the smallest detail could become a weapon: a single stretcher, a sacred cat, a plank of wood, or a terrified elephant. Leaders who understood psychology, timing, and surprise could rewrite the rules of battle entirely. And while some of these moves might seem unethical, outrageous, or downright cruel, they worked. History remembers not only armies and battles, but also the leaders who dared to take insane risks and actually pulled them off. The Vikings, for example, weren't just strong, they were cunning. Hastings didn't rely on numbers alone. He used storytelling, religion, and deception to create opportunities for victory that would have been impossible otherwise. Cambyses' Persian cats showed that warfare isn't always about weapons. Even today, we underestimate the power of culture, belief, and fear. Understanding your enemy's values can sometimes be more effective than any sword or arrow. The Romans' corvus teaches a lesson in turning weaknesses into strengths. They couldn't outsail Carthage, so they brought the battle into a space where they could win. Sometimes the smartest move is to change the rules entirely. Caesar's double siege reminds us that preparation, strategy, and thinking multiple steps ahead are as lethal as the sharpest sword. He minimized losses while securing total victory, a feat of planning almost unmatched in history. Tamerlane's flaming camels show how fear, chaos, and audacity can be used creatively. You don't always need to fight harder. Sometimes you fight smarter, and the battlefield itself becomes a tool. All these stories also highlight one thing: timing matters. Hastings waited for trust. Cambyses waited for hesitation. Romans waited for the perfect boarding moment. Caesar waited for starvation. Tamerlane waited for chaos. Timing, creativity, and understanding the human element are threads that tie these insane tactics together. That's what separates a great leader from an average one. Even centuries later, these tales still shock, entertain, and inspire. Imagine being a soldier at any of these battles, 1 minute confident, the next seeing something completely unexpected, like flaming camels, sacred cats, or a giant bridge swinging onto your ship. And while these lessons are about warfare, they also show us how strategy, daring, and thinking outside the box can change outcomes in life beyond the battlefield. History isn't just dates, wars, and names. It's stories of human audacity, brilliant minds, and moments where ordinary circumstances were turned into legendary victories. So whether it's Vikings sneaking in under the guise of death, cats halting armies, Romans boarding ships with a spike, Caesar's double wall siege, or Tamerlane's fiery chaos, these leaders were masters of exploiting opportunity. They show that sometimes brains beat brawn, timing beats strength, and audacity can turn impossible situations into victories that echo through history. I'm Marcus, and that wraps up today's journey into 5 of the wildest, boldest, and most effective war tactics ever recorded. Remember, history isn't just about who won or lost, it's about the insane creativity, bold moves, and genius behind the victories. So the next time you hear "that will never work," think of Hastings, Cambyses, Caesar, Romans, and Tamerlane, all of whom proved that crazy ideas sometimes change the world. Boom, that's history at its wildest. And trust me, the stories don't stop here. There's always another insane tactic waiting to blow your mind.